now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Buenos dias. Friday. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be talking about a job fair coming up later on. So make sure you guys...
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Well, good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, Aaron.
Morning.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Friday. Here we are.
Yeah. What do you got for us this morning?
What's going on?
I'm hearing myself in a little bit of feedback, but maybe that's on my end. Right. So we have the early assistance program is getting some funding for the new year. So they're giving funding, I should say, to any parents that are eligible. So basically, this program offers financial assistance for younger children up to $500 per month for early childhood centers.
Nice.
So if you are a parent that is finding things a little bit difficult and you're struggling, this is one of the available options to you. So it's done through the Ministry of Education, and it's called the ECAP, the Early Childhood Assistance Program. So please check it out. Applications are available online. It is based on your finances, so you do have to tell them a little bit about yourself, and then they, are going to be happy to help you if you need the help.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah. So
I like beach walks and knitting.
I don't think that's what they're going to ask you.
Oh,
no, probably not. So the Anton Bodden Drive in Bodden Town is going to start being closed to traffic. So starting on Monday, the police, the RCIPS, and no doubt the NRA want you to get used to this new closure from 5:30 a.m. until 8 a.m. So anyone coming from the Eastern Districts Monday to Friday, as of Monday, will no longer be able to take that shortcut. So this is the one that travels behind
Civic
by the
Center
police
and all
station.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
this is just to stop people cutting through, basically.
yes.
Where's
Bodden Town. So it
I know what you're
comes
talking about.
out like by the White House area.
Yes.
Yeah. So the police have said, listen, it's causing a dangerous situation for drivers. And so they're going to station police cars on either end to block the public from being able to access it during morning
Is
traffic.
it because people are speeding down that road when they're hitting that bypass?
I don't know if you can speed in early morning traffic, but it just said that, the police said that it's causing poor driving practices and traffic congestion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like,
So,
there's
This isn't the first time that they've cut off some of these through roads. So that's
they tried to do it to Old Crew Road for a while, that little cut through that goes from South Sound over to the bypass. But that's I think over now.
Anytime you cut off a road, it just seems like mayhem.
Well, the problem is there's
exactly.
only all road leads to one lane, and so it's like everyone coming from east over, it's kind of stuck. There's no other option, and that's why traffic's so bad. There needs to be some other option to be able to get through that traffic.
Yeah, it's rough when you come from the Eastern districts, though. Trust me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And, people have
So,
kids, then the kids
yeah,
suffer because then they have to get up so early to try to get to school if they go to school in town or, yeah,
yeah.
all unfortunate.
So Governor Roper has issued a statement about the UN General Assembly resolution regarding Ukraine. And he has said that, obviously the Cayman Islands is in support of this, and we will be doing our part via sanctions. And he noted in his statement that for the first time in 40 years, the Security Council has referred a crisis to the Assembly, and only the 11th time an emergency session of the UN General Assembly has been called since 1950. So this is a pretty big deal. And the initial General Assembly resolution has been co-sponsored by other Caribbean neighbors: Bahamas, Belize, Dominican Republic, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we are also in support. And he said that, the situation in Ukraine is extremely, in his words, deeply worrying. So we will do our part by way of sanctions. I think, there's probably assets here, bank accounts, maybe aircrafts, mega yachts, and that sort of thing that we might be able to do something about.
You see that one oligarch's yacht is worth $750 million. It looks like a miniature cruise ship. It is massive.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's
crazy.
absolutely crazy.
From the Russian people.
Wow.
Yeah. So in a bit of court news, 2 cases of interest. RCIPS officers are suing the helicopter manufacturer company. So you guys might remember this, but remember in 2019, there was that incident that took out the helicopter company and we were without a helicopter.
Yeah.
Right.
So the 2 air operations unit employees that were on that flight have now sued Airbus Helicopters SAS. That's the name of that division, which is the helicopter manufacturing division of Airbus. And they did it 2 days before the statute of limitation ran out. So this is why you get yourself a lawyer. They'll tell you in 2 days, the statute of limitation is going to run out. Let's get the paperwork in. So it comes on the heel of the 3-year anniversary of the accident. And we'll see where that goes.
What are they claiming?
Yeah.
No specific amounts, but the usual pain, personal injury, pain, suffering, and loss of amenity.
But as to what though? What was it? Just malfunctioning?
Well, yes, they're saying that the helicopter itself had some sort of a mechanical malfunction.
Okay.
So I don't think we ever. Yeah, I don't think that we ever heard exactly what it was, but we do know that Airbus had sent down, someone right away, like the following day, to see what had gone wrong. And so I think the claim is that the hard landing was due to some sort of defect or failing in the manufacture of the aircraft. So interesting.
Where do you file something like that? That's not here, right?
No, they filed it here in the Grand Court.
Oh,
now, I'm assuming, yeah. I'm assuming this company is an overseas company. So, their headquarters are in France, so they're probably registered there as well. So they're going to have to get what's called like special leave to serve them outside the jurisdiction. But they'll iron those things out. But I guess the most important thing was trying to get the lawsuit filed. Other court news, Cayman Turtle Center, their former accounts clerk, has been formally charged with stealing over $300,000. This took a couple years for them to bring charges.
Wow.
But yes, Miss Rachel Ann Ebanks is being accused, 63 years old. She's being accused of stealing over $300,000 from the government statutory entity over a number of years.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. The allegations seem to be around the fact that she may have had a gambling problem, but they found that she's got 2 charges of theft and 1 of false accounting. And essentially, they said for like a 4-year period of time, she was not making bank deposits, which I don't know how anybody didn't miss that for 4 years. There's a lot of questions that this brings out in terms of just checks and balances and general accountability. It's really quite amazing, actually, that it was permitted to go on for 4 years. And then a bit of sad news this morning. We woke up to hear that unfortunately, a Caymanian realtor has passed away. In
Saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
right.
sad.
In Vegas, they were at a real estate conference there.
Hmm.
So Furious Whelan, a sales associate at Remax, unfortunately has passed away. No cause of death or anything yet, but we wish to
Yeah.
obviously extend our condolences to his
I mean,
family
so
and
many people
colleagues.
knew
Well, he did
him.
hair for a very
Yeah, he
long
did
time.
hair for a long time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
good hair.
Good hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good hair.
Listen, he has
Sounds
a family.
Yeah.
Some, so that's just, it's very sad.
super sad to
for
hear that and wake up. Yeah, like you woke up kind of shocked to hear.
Thoughts are with all the family here,
Yeah. Well, our condolences. I mean, can't believe it really. I didn't personally know him, but it's very sad. So that's your news headlines for today.
All right, Sandy, have yourself a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you on Monday morning. All right.
Awesome. You guys have a good one.
All right, our segment.
Okay, folks. Sorry to have to. I hate to ever deliver bad news like that, but it's part of the job, I guess. So there's also an accident this morning by Lantern Point roundabout. So I'll show you a few pictures of that. Yeah. All right. So yes, even when there's barely any traffic on the road, you guys can't drive. The irony of it. I'm throwing some shade your way. All right, let me play a quick intro music while I grab some water. I didn't have time to grab any water this morning, so do permit me to do that. And then we'll get the conversation on the road. We do have guests joining us at 8 o'clock to talk about the Ritz Carlton, the DART, I should say, because they have more than one property job fair. So we want to make sure that you guys are tuned in for that event. We'll be right back after these messages. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. How are you guys doing? Happy Friday. Yes, it is. It is Friday. Let's see here. We're just sending a quick message. Alrighty. Mm-hmm. So, how is everyone? I hope you guys are fantastic. I'm having some coconut water this morning. Decided to drink a little bit of coconut water. Okay. All right. So, good morning to Virtuous. Marshall is here. Diamond Princess. Stephen is joining us from the UK. Wee Wee's here. Carmelie, good morning. Somebody messaged Carmelie and said you were in the hospital. I was like, I don't know anything about that. Not that I would know everything about Carmelie, but I hadn't heard that one. So I wonder if they were getting you confused with somebody else. I'm not really sure because they said, oh, your sister's in the hospital. And I said, well, I do have quite a few sisters, you know. People seem to think I've only got one, but I have, let me see how many sisters. I need to think about this and actually count. Let me think now. There's Carmelie, there's Susan. Is it 4 sisters? There was 5, but one passed away. I think that's right. 4 sisters. So when you say my sister, you got to probably be a little bit more specific than that. Good morning, Bob. How are you? Have a blessed Friday. Thank you so much, Ingrid. Sophia is here. Sheila, Grace. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. You know, when people who are young and just, you know, full of life, apparently, and then pass away, you're always like, what on earth? Good morning, Louie, joining us from Detroit. Grace, Cheryl, Felicia, Irvlyn, Patricia. So Carmelie says she is in the hospital. You see, I don't know everything. Keep telling you guys, there's probably a lot that I just don't know. And if nobody tells me, then yeah, I'm not going to know. So there is an accident that will slow you down a little bit this morning. It looks quite serious. Let's have a look at, we do have a photo here of it and some video footage as well. So this is what it is. 2 vehicular accident, a white car, and it looks like a gray SUV happened. It looks like right before 7 o'clock this morning. So it might have cleared already. Obviously in this photo, the police are already on the scene. And, you know, all I can tell you is what I tell you every day. So please be careful out there. It's a dangerous world on these streets of the Cayman Islands, despite the fact that it really shouldn't be. I feel like we should have the safest record in the world, given how few roads we have, but given how many drivers we have, and I don't know what caliber drivers are out there, but it's not really looking good from what I can see. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So yes, you guys drive a little bit mad. And, you know, we're going to be doing some stuff with the NRA in road safety in the coming months. And I just want to really encourage you all to try to take your time on the roadways. Most of these accidents are avoidable. I mean, honestly, it's not that difficult if you simply follow a couple golden rules. So stay off the phone. I feel like that's probably the number one, you know, distraction. Be more present when you are driving, like actually pay attention to the roadway. In addition to that, how about just slow down a little bit? Where would you be going this morning of all mornings in a hurry? Here's some video footage of it. There we go. This is before the police showed up. I don't even know how that accident happened. Where were people coming from? Hold on, let's back it up and just have a look and see if we can figure out how this happened. Okay, so the white car and the gray car collided, but it kind of looks like they were going in opposite directions. So one probably was coming from off the bypass. And then where was the other one going? The through road to Prospect? I'm not really sure. This is a strange one. But these roundabouts I find confuse people. They actually ended up on the roundabout here. Wow. Yeah. Cars got some damage, but they seem to confuse people. Roundabouts are actually very, very simple once you know the golden rule of a roundabout. The golden rule of a roundabout is give way to the right. Simple as that. If you're coming off of a roundabout, look to your right, because you guys know here in the Cayman Islands, we drive on what side of the road? Come on now, quiz time. I think I'm going to start quizzing you guys on some road safety and signs and stuff. So, oh gosh, I forgot. I forgot a sister. Thanks, Carmen. My goodness. I forgot poor Melrose. But you know what? It's because I've told you guys before, Melrose, poor thing, recently had a COVID episode last year where she was the first local transmission case after so much time of us being COVID free. She was the first one that they were able to confirm. Of course, we had people walk around COVID in the community. There's no two ways about that. And there was this rumor in circulation that I had gotten COVID from my sister. And I was like, which sister? I honestly do not, I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen Melrose. She's a little bit older. She's the eldest sister. And, I don't ever really get to see her. And I don't know her particularly well either. So I think Carmelie tends to spend more time with her than I do for sure. So, so yes, folks. Oh, let me plug in the phone and remind you, the guys, that you can actually call into the program as well. Once the phone's plugged in, that is. There we go. Ready for your phone calls? What was I saying? My goodness. Yeah, so I was saying about the road safety. You guys just need to slow it down a little bit. So give way to the right when you're coming off of a roundabout. You have to actually yield. I see some people go straight into a roundabout as though there's nothing that's going to come at them. I've seen it so many times. Remember the one video that the person's dash cam caught the accident in front of them? And that was because that person just rolled right into the roundabout full speed ahead as though they weren't actually supposed to yield. I'm thinking that's not how you enter a roundabout. Like, even if you think you've got the clear, you've got to slow down enough in case something comes out of your peripheral vision that you didn't see coming, that you can avoid it. So you're supposed to yield and give way to the right. Now, multi-lane roundabouts can get a little bit confusing. So the Cayman Bay one, for example, is a little bit of a recipe for disaster for some of you, because you just don't know how to maneuver it. And what I find with a roundabout like that is I really try to make sure that there's good clearance in the overall roundabout before I proceed. But of course, cars are coming and going pretty quickly. And then I always indicate, because if I'm coming off of the Harco bypass, for example, and I take that roundabout and I'm trying to go all the way over to like the Cayman Bay entrance, the first entrance, because there's actually two entrances that come off of that roundabout, which makes it a little bit more complex, right? So if I'm trying to go to the first entrance, you kind of have to go like all the way across. And I'm always weary of the traffic that's coming from the opposite direction. Either thinking I'm going to be going kind of straight on the roundabout, or I'm not going to be making that first turn where the Mac store, what's it called? The Apple store. So, you just got to pay attention. Like when you see people using their indicators, figure that they're using it for a reason. Because I only use my indicators when I'm like telling you, listen. Same thing with the Butterfield roundabout by A.L. Thompson's, right? You coming off of that, you've got several different ways you can go. So I make sure I'm on the outer lane, and I still indicate to say I'm going on the Esterly Tibbetts. This is where I'm going. And there have been times, just the other day, this week actually, there was a lady pulling out of there at the very last minute, and I had to definitely put my brakes on to avoid hitting her. So a little bit of extra caution, I find, would go a long way into fewer accidents on the roads. This morning there wouldn't be that much traffic because kids are still on midterm break, and yet look at it. That happened this morning. So good morning, Kizwiz. Patricia Irvlin is here. Irvlin says they're still there with the police. Oh, well, sometimes the police take a while. They take a while to get out of the way. And I always think it's a good idea to call the police, because unfortunately what you find is people are really being dishonest about things when an accident's happen. At first they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll take responsibility for it. And then, when it comes time to pay or insurance is involved, all of a sudden they change their narrative. So you do want to be careful. Emma says between 5 and 7, it's a racetrack from West Bay straight to North Side. I drive fast because I first got my license in the States. But the phone doesn't exist while I'm driving. I pull over if the phone is not connected to the car, but it's nuts. But I don't understand how people can drive that fast, especially coming from the Eastern districts, because you are in bumper to bumper traffic. So how are you able to drive fast? That's crazy. Irvin says, looks like they made a 2-lane in the roundabout heading up. I don't know. Half the time I can't figure out these accidents. I'm like, what happened here? But somebody clearly wasn't paying attention. Somebody didn't give way or look. And that's what happens. Hello, Miss Morna. Good morning. Yes, Carmelie, we hope you feel better. Natasha says it's so sad that they don't care about next one in front or behind. I got in an accident on the 22nd of last month, and I was so afraid to go out. We need to think good when we go out. Yeah, there are people who become when accidents happen, there are people who become very fearful of driving. And I can totally understand that. I mean, when I first, I was driving, but I got my first vehicle, and it was a little used Toyota Escort back in the day. And I was almost involved in a really crazy accident on the interstate. And it was that merge lane. You're getting on the interstate. And when you get on the interstate in the States, you've got to move quickly. You have no time to be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get over. There might just be a slither of a window where you need to just get into traffic, and you're booking it at 60 and you just keep going. Well, in this instance, there was a little bit of an issue with a semi-truck not having sufficient room to get over. And so the semi-truck did what we call a jackhammer, where it has to brake so quickly that the rest, the tail end of the semi, because these are 16 wheelers, right? I think some of them are even more than that. But the tail end, jackhammered, it turned kind of sideways, and then all the oncoming traffic was trying to avoid hitting this. So this was a multiple car accident, and I was in the mix trying to get on this interstate. And I remember being with a passenger at the time, who was like, oh, brake. And the first thing I did was look in my rearview mirror to see if braking was a good idea, because braking is not always your best move. And I could see coming full up on the ramp, coming full speed ahead, behind me was another car. And I'm like, oh, shoot, if I brake, jackknife. What do I call it? Jackhammered? It's jackknife. Thank you. I was like, if I brake suddenly, I'm going to avoid the collision in front of me, but probably not, because the vehicle behind me is going to hit me from behind and push me into everything else that's going on. So it's kind of interesting dynamics when you have people with you, because they're trying to yell at you and tell you what to do, but you got to be focused. And thank God, back then we didn't really have cell phones like we do today. That wasn't a thing. Nobody had a cell phone in a car, really. This is when you still had the big clunky ones, the big Nokia that was this size. And I didn't have one. But I was like, oh, let me hurry up and bloop, get over. And so I decided not to brake. I just maneuvered my little Toyota Escort over and I just kept going. And thankfully, through a little bit of luck and probably, some divine intervention, I was able to avoid that accident. So sometimes you're involved in an accident really isn't your fault. You just get caught up in a situation. But you've got to learn a little bit about being a defensive driver, being an offensive driver. These are all tactics. And I kind of think that, I don't know, I feel like we need to do more with driver's education on this island because we do have a large community of drivers here who have never driven before. And we also have people who are coming from different jurisdictions where the road rules are like really, really different. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Jamaica. Y'all make up the rules. I've seen driving in Jamaica and I'm just like, that's not even a lane. What are people doing? My husband's just like, hey, this is how we drive in Jamaica. We just make up a lane. And I'm sitting here going, whew, I would never drive there. Like, it's just crazy. And heaven forbid you have to go to like country and take like junction or something. It's like toot toot. I'm coming around a blind corner. I can't see you. I don't know who you are or what you are. But toot toot, I'm coming. Get out of my way. Give way. And it's like a big truck coming at you and you're trying to share a 1-lane highway. I have no clue how people use that highway every day. It's crazy. Anyway, good morning, Robert. Did I say Toyota Escort? Listen, I'm always having these yes, it was a Ford Escort. Thank you, Marshall. Yeah, it was a very unusual car. It's a little white car. Carol says, love to see some of these drivers negotiate the massive roundabouts in the UK. They wouldn't be able to at all. And you know what I think we should do? Now, hear me out. This is just an idea. It's going to sound a little bit crazy, but I'm thinking it might be a good idea. So you have driver's education here, right? And you've got, teachers. I mean, I don't know how good they are. I've never done driver's ed here. I did driver's ed as like a 15, 16-year-old in university and high school. And, we did interstate driving. But before we even got in a car, we did a lot of classroom time. And here, I don't think that happens. I'm going to be honest. They just put you behind a car. Oh, have you read the manual, the little book about the road signs or whatever? And then you start practicing. So I think that by the time you get a driver's license, you're like bare minimum for a driver's license, right? And I'm wondering if we shouldn't do more classroom time. Like we should have driver's ed classes where you like attend and you talk about road safety in different scenarios. But you know what else would be really, really amazing? If you gave people simulation driving lessons. I'm going to throw this out there. There has to be some business-minded individual who could really make this into bona fide business, right? Because listen to how this would work. Google Maps would be your friend. So you set this up on a big simulation screen, computer screen or monitor or whatever. And the person has an actual steering wheel and the little accelerator and stuff. You see, you piggyback off the whole gaming industry. That's where this idea is coming from. So you set it up as though you're actually driving. And then you take the maps of the Cayman Islands, all the roadways that we have, all the roundabouts, like the real roundabouts, right? So that's where I think you could probably pull in a little bit of integration with Google Maps to lay out the island. And you start driving in a virtual environment before you ever get on the road. And in this virtual environment, you create different scenarios. So you create vehicles coming from the left in the roundabout. You create bad drivers. So you show, the drivers that are really horrible. Put them in the mix. Right? People who don't stop and they don't brake. So they put you in different situations so that you can be like, oh my gosh, this has just happened. What do I need to do? How do I need to respond? And then the computerized system will kind of grade you in how your driving is, give you feedback. And then a real live instructor would say to you, well, you were in this situation. How could you have maneuvered that better? Because you never know what you're going to do until you're in a real live situation. This is very, very true. But if you've had enough practice, so you've had enough practice with crazy drivers coming off of a roundabout, you kind of know then what you need to do. And then throw things in the mix in this simulation classroom environment, right? So give them a little Bluetooth phone and show them, oh, by the way, when you're talking on the phone, your reflexes are decreased by 30%. Nobody ever wants to believe that. Where's Denny Warren Jr.? I remember years ago, Denny Warren had this big argument about this, and he did a driving test because he wanted to prove that he can drive just as well talking on a phone as if he wasn't. And I don't know where Denny got this idea from, but it's crazy. You do not drive anywhere near as well when you're on the phone, even if it's hands-free. Now, in this country, you are permitted to drive hands-free. That's okay. But it doesn't mean that you are going to be the most attentive driver. And this is what happens. And I feel like this happens to me a lot, because how many of you, first of all, you just get into the conversation, your mind is not really in the roadway. But how many of you recognize the fact that you just drive out of habit? You take the same route every single day, you jump in your car. If you're coming from the Eastern District, at what point are you cognizant of where you even are in your journey? Do you know that you can come all the way from East End every single morning to town, and most of the things that were passing you by, you never even saw? There was no visual, because you're an autopilot. You just put that in drive, and you are driving about your business, and you're going wherever, and you really don't know. You're not a conscious driver. And this happens to me. Like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I just literally went from Spots and I made it all the way to Lion Center, and I have no recollection of it. I just know that I did it. Obviously, that's how I ended up at Lion Center, but I have no real recollection of that journey. If you said to me, when you came to the Hurley's roundabout, there was a blue car there, did you see it? I'd be like, no. Because unless there's something specific why that car would have stood out in your mind, your brain is just an autopilot. So I think this simulation idea could be good. It might be a good idea to see how much people are indicating and doing other things. It would take some money to kind of develop this, but I think it would be fantastic. So run with the idea, my good folks. Grab it. Somebody, there you go. Ideas are a dime a dozen. And you are more than welcome to it. No, I will charge you no royalties for the idea. How about that? Okay. So I see your guest is getting ready. We're going to bring you in just a second. So the good news is there is a hospitality fair that is being put on, job fair, this weekend. And the minister's actually issued a message about this as well. So I'm going to play his message. Good morning, Andy. How are you? Yesterday, folks, we were talking a little bit about the job market and specific to tourism. So as the country begins to reopen, we want to really encourage people in the tourism industry to get back to work. So some of you have been unemployed now for pretty much 2 years. I mean, this is, what month are we in? March of 2022. The pandemic hit us in March of 2020. That's when things got locked down. So now it is your opportunity to get back to work, and there are opportunities out there. And I know there's also a lot of obstacles, but you've got to be prepared in life to traverse the obstacles and grab the opportunities. That's how I'm seeing it. And so the DART organization has a number of properties, and we'll find out a little bit more from Valerie here in a second about those properties and opportunities are available. Now, both the existing governor, so the Minister of Tourism and Transport, as well as private sector, I think has an understanding that these are very precarious times. So this is an unusual situation that none of us have ever been in before, where the entire tourism industry has come to essentially a complete halt. And as a result of that, there's now a revving up of, okay, your borders are reopening. People can enter the country without, all this quarantine, all the regimented stuff that was happening. So more and more people will be traveling, and we are getting back to business as it relates to our tourism industry. And getting back to business means that if you were previously employed in tourism and you wish to continue to be employed in tourism, you need to look at some options. And maybe some of you weren't even in tourism and you're thinking, ooh, I want to try it. I guess this could be an opportunity for you as well. Remember last week, though, I said that maybe for some of you in tourism, it's time to think about other things. Like, you don't have to stay stagnant in your professional careers. There's lots of things out there that you could potentially do. So put on your thinking caps, folks. And, I think go to the job fair. If you have an interest, see what's available. If you can have a meeting of the minds of your skill set and so on, please take advantage of that. This would be a great opportunity for me to also remind you all of the available courses that are coming up. So, of course, the Department of Tourism actually has a front of house training program, and the registration deadline for that is on Monday. So, folks, do not miss out on this opportunity, because, again, if you don't have some necessary, credentials, it's going to be harder for you to get your foot in the door. So this is the front of house training, folks. Take advantage of it. I was thinking that was the video one. I'll find the video one here. Take advantage of this opportunity and, avail yourself of the training that's available. There's a wine section to this. There's a front, reception, front desk section. And there is also spirits. So you learn a bit about spirits as well. The Department of Tourism is pleased to offer this public-private partnership training opportunity with the Wine School. Wine School 3 is presenting a certified front-of-house server course open to all Caymanians 18 and over. Course dates for the day-long training sessions are from March the 21st through the 25th. Don't miss this excellent opportunity to upskill yourself as our islands reopen to tourists. Registration deadline is Monday, March the 7th by 5 p.m. Visit wineschool.ourcayman.ky for more information. All right, folks. So again, encouraging you to get registered. Now let's hear a message from Mr. Kenneth Bryan, Minister of Tourism and Transport.
Good day, Cayman. Today, I want to send a very brief message to all Caymanians who are unemployed and looking for work. I'm very pleased to see that the DART organization will be hosting a hospitality jobs fair this coming Saturday, the 5th of March, at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I'm informed by the DART group that there will be a wide range of jobs on offer, covering a broad cross-section of the tourism industry, including finance, food and beverage, guest services, recreation, spa services, IT, and much more. I want to strongly encourage all Caymanians who are seeking work and is currently unemployed to come and attend. Please take the time to go along and find out what the opportunities are. Speak to the representatives of the hotel industry, and most importantly, put your applications in. That's this Saturday, the 5th of March, in the ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I am very grateful to the DART organization for stepping up to attract Caymanians to join the tourism industry, and I look forward to seeing you all there. And please, remember to share this video with everyone you know, particularly those who are unemployed. Let's get back to work, Cayman. See you this Saturday.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get back to work. I'm all for it. Valerie, good morning.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Now, let me get your last name right. Is it just Hop?
Most people think it's just Hop, but it's
okay.
Hoppa. My
Hoppa.
husband's German, so it's a German pronunciation. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the Cold Hard Truth. Valerie is the Director of People and Culture at, is it the Seafire?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So you guys decided to put on this DART Hospitality Careers Fair tomorrow morning. Tell us a little bit about how the idea came to fruition.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because the some of the restrictions were taken off of tourists coming back to the island. So as soon as the airline started returning, and as well the LFT that was days 2, 5, and 7, I think, when that restriction came off, we immediately saw a jump in our reservations. And so suddenly our occupancy is much higher than it's been in the last 2 years, and we need people. And what better to recruit locally? And so we just decided, you know what, before this gets out of hand, where we're in such high occupancies with such low staff that we're not able to service our guests and have to start capping limits on the hotel for guests, et cetera, we decided to go ahead and do a job fair. And when we combine efforts through different, hotels and brands, then the event can draw more people to it. And so that's what we've done. And so the 3 DART hotels have come together, try to recruit, because our occupancy, we see it rising, and we're really excited about that.
Okay, well, this is good news that people are returning. And so can you give us an idea? Let's talk about the DART properties. I think sometimes we forget what is included, because DART is always making acquisitions. So there are 4 properties in the
So 3 right now.
3. Okay.
It's the Kimpton Seafire, the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, and the Hampton, the Piper Resorts by Hampton.
Right. And that was formerly
oh my goodness, Comfort Suites.
Yes, right. Okay. So that one's a little bit closer the other way of West Bay Road. So very good. So 3 properties, and I think there's a 4th one that's coming online later on at some point.
Probably, like you said, they always have new acquisitions.
Yes. I remember, my brain kind of remembers hearing something about a 4th property. But anyway, 3 properties is a lot. So what is your capacity across 3 properties when it comes to like job availability? How many jobs are we talking about between the Ritz, the Kimpton Seafire, and the Hampton?
We actually put a list together and combined all of our positions, and we have 89 positions available.
Okay. All right. So that's a good start.
Yes. Yeah. And that's actually position titles. So for example, that's a server, but you might have 2 or 3 servers. So 89 position titles means we probably have closer to 125 positions, something approximately like that.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So let's talk about some of the actual availability of jobs and what you're actually looking for. So do you have the list handy by any chance?
I don't, but
okay, we'll do it off of the top of your head. Yes. So anything on the admin side, because I think a lot of people, they think of hospitality, and they sort of think of traditional jobs being front of house servers and this sort of thing. But there's a lot of back office admin jobs, people that you never see behind the scenes, such as yourself. You're director of people and culture. Is there anything in human resources and the admin in the office? What sort of jobs are available on that end of things?
Yes, actually, you know what? I think it would be smart if I pulled up the job list.
Yeah, take your time.
Let me actually pull it up. But yeah, I know for sure that Kimpton Seafire has the administrative coordinator position open, which is similar to an executive assistant, but a little bit more on the project management side, and would help the general manager and the whole executive committee with different requests, such as putting projects and presentations together, etc. I think the Ritz-Carlton has a position similar open, but that's when I wanted to say, you know what, let me just check.
Yeah, absolutely. Pull it up. We'll give you a minute there.
Yeah.
Damien does have a question, so we'll be taking your questions. And folks, don't forget as well that you can call our new number, 936-2626. That's 936-BOBO for short. Or you can also click on the caymanmallroad.com/talkshow link if you'd like to come on screen. So you've got 2 options now for participating and calling into the program. So if you're interested in the job fair, tourism, opportunities for the dark properties, do consider giving us a call. Valerie is going to pull up that positions list so that she can get an idea of exactly what is available now. So we're going to talk about some of the things as well that they wish for you to do when you come to the job fair tomorrow. So you've got to put on, your best face here, your best foot forward, and really go there to dress to impress and, have your game face on and just be ready to grab one of those positions by making a first good impression. So,
so I've got my list, and
yes.
I do have, the Ritz-Carlton does have the administrative assistant for the executive office open. We've also got accounting positions. A lot of people forget you need accountants in a hotel. We're a business. So the Ritz-Carlton has an accounts receivable position. We actually have a staff accountant, we call it, but it's going to be placed more in the general cashier area. So we have that open at our hotel. There's a purchasing clerk at the Ritz-Carlton, so in the purchasing department, doing, purchasing and receiving. There's another general finance accountant at the Ritz-Carlton. So several positions in the accounting area, actually.
Wonderful.
There's a position called food and beverage analyst. So this position would require some experience in food and beverage, but it's an admin position. And that's looking at, so like supporting the management team and analyzing food costs and assisting with purchase orders, monitoring all the standards in food and beverage, that kind of thing. So there are definitely some admin positions available.
Right.
It's not all housekeeping and bellman.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah. And I just wanted to remind people of those opportunities, because a hotel is kind of like a little mini country on its own. Like you do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
You're bringing food and goods on site. You've got salons on these properties. So they have masseuse and maybe hairstylists. And, I think I'm not sure about the Kimpton, but yes, they've got retail stores as well. So you've got retail managers and retail clerks and, maybe someone who's worked in jewelry sales or whatever before. So I feel like there are a lot of potential opportunities for people in hotels outside of what we kind of traditionally think about of just like front office, front desk, and so on. So
for sure. And we actually do have a lot of those positions that you named. We have them open. So retail, massage therapist, spa coordinator, all of those, we've got them open, and we're ready to have tourism return and to serve the guests. So please, anybody who's listening to this, if you're Caymanian, status holder, permanent resident, or an RERC holder, please, if you're looking for a job, come out and visit us. We haven't talked about the event yet, but it's tomorrow. And we really, really would love to see as many people there as possible so that, we get more people through our doors.
We do have a listener who's asking a little bit about your HR background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Valerie.
Myself.
Where have you come from? You said you're German?
Oh, my husband is German.
Your husband is German.
Here in Cayman, but I'm not German. I'm American. Grew up in the United States. I've been here for 16 years or something like that. I came right after Hurricane Ivan in early 2005.
Right.
I was already in human resources in Florida. I was living in Florida before I moved here. And the Ritz-Carlton was under construction. They needed somebody to come in. I worked for Ritz-Carlton in the US. They needed somebody to open the hotel, to start the recruitment efforts, kind of set everything up. And so I actually came down here. I was meant to be here just for 2 months, but I fell in love with the island, and then the hotel opened, and there was another position that I took, which was director of training. So I was the director of training at the Ritz-Carlton for several years. So everybody who came through that door from 2005 to 2008 or 9 approximately saw me on day one, teaching them about service standards and all of that. And then I went back onto the sort of HR side of things versus the training side. And was the assistant director at the Ritz-Carlton. When about 9 years ago, I moved over to the Marriott. So I spent almost 8 years at the Marriott as the director of human resources. And then I just moved over to Kimpton Seafire about 8 months ago, I want to say. Yeah,
okay.
8-9 months. So it's been less than a year here at Seafire, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
Right.
So I've been, the whole time I've been in the Cayman Islands, I've been in human resources. And then obviously I was in HR before that when I was in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my niche. I started out in hotels as a front desk agent. And so, you know, we always talk about those people who can grow in the industry. I'm one of them. I started out as a front desk agent. I worked there for 1 year, moved over to be a concierge. I was a concierge for a couple of years. And then from there, I went into sales and public relations just for like, I don't know, less than a year. And I was living in Mexico at the time, working in hotels there. And then I followed love back to the United States. That didn't work out.
Right.
My career took off because when I was back in the US, that's when I got into HR and started learning about that side of the industry versus the service side of the industry. And then I just grew from there. And then a few years later, I was in Cayman.
All right. Well, we do have a caller on the line. Now, let me make sure that I've got my board digits up here so everybody can hear. Good morning, caller.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
Morning.
So I'm just calling to ask because I was looking on the Ritz-Carlton website. I see some jobs, but not like all. So currently I'm in isolation. So if I do apply online, would I still be considered? Because in the past, I have had some bad experience with Ritz-Carlton applying. So I want to know if I do apply, if I would get through. And let me give you one of the situations that I went through. I applied for a position in the past. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years. And when I went for an interview, by the time I could even drive on West Bay Road, I got an email saying that I wasn't considered for the position. I just left the interview. If I was being considered, why would I get a reply, an automatic reply saying that I was not being considered for the position? So I want to know if we do apply online, since I'm in isolation, would I still be a candidate?
So it sounds like you've got two questions here. The first one, I think Damien is also asking online, is the logistics of applying if you can't attend for some reason. So there might be people who are otherwise engaged tomorrow morning. So Valerie, maybe you could address that one first, and then we'll move on to the second point of the question, the second point of the caller's question.
Absolutely. So definitely, if you're in isolation, we don't want to leave you out. We will definitely accept your applications. For anybody who comes or cannot come, the jobs will be posted online on each of the different hotel websites. So maybe what I could do, Sandra, is I can share those websites with you so that you can somehow get it out to your readers. But the Ritz-Carlton website hasn't changed. So if you applied there in the past, it's the same place you would apply. If you were going for a job at the Kimpton, it would be kimptoncareers.com. And then for the Hampton, there is another website. I could actually find those for you and let your
that would be fantastic. Yes.
But yes, all applicants will be considered as long as you don't need a work permit, right?
Yes.
So we will be doing that. And then I would also suggest, just because I always think that, you know, when you make that face-to-face connection or that one-to-one connection, that you have a better chance. So in addition to applying, you know, if you have an email or if you have a CV, have somebody drop it off and just say, hey, this person applied online. And then, but they were in isolation and couldn't come to the event, right? And then it's just like that extra, I'm not saying it's necessary because your application will be online already, but it's just that extra like, oh, wow, they really took the time and the effort. And it gives you that kind of leg up so that your application doesn't get to the bottom of the pile, you know, as they say, kind of can So that's my recommendation for you if you're in isolation and can't come, is to apply online and then to reach out, maybe send your CV to the Human Resources Department of the hotel that you're applying for.
Now, the other question, and quite a few people are kind of hinting at this as well, and some are being very, very direct, that the Ritz-Carlton doesn't have the best reputation in the world for hiring local talent. And this is a complaint that we hear quite often in the community. And I don't know how much you can speak to this, Valerie. This might be above your pay grade, but I'd like you to give it a shot. So, last year when there was a press conference in the government building, and there was this whole like, hooray, we're going to be reopening. Department of Tourism is going to be working in conjunction with, private sector. Mr. What's his name? Your general manager of the Ritz, I believe is his name. What is his name?
Oh, Langevin, Mark Langevin.
No, I'm sorry. I butchered his name. Mark yes.
Langevin.
Langevin. He was there. And, one of the questions that I actually asked him was, what was the Ritz-Carlton doing about this reputation that you have, whether it's well-deserved or not? You've got this reputation in the community of not particularly being local friendly when it comes to hiring. And he was shocked at the question, like, we don't have a reputation like that. Where are you living? And I thought, wow, it's shocking the perspective that people have. But Valerie, the name of the program is A Cold Hard Truth, so we have to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
The Ritz-Carlton doesn't have a reputation for appearing to want to hire locals, and that's what Jamila, that last caller, was saying, is that I took the effort, applied, went for a job interview. And then, within 2 minutes of leaving the job interview, I get an automated reply to say, you're not getting the job. What was the purpose then in her mind of even attending the job interview? That does seem a little bit unusual that you'd get a response so quickly. Like how was she evaluated as a candidate? Who made that decision? Thank God it was at least a response. I mean, I think that's good that at least she got a response.
Yeah.
But what efforts are being made to sort of change this narrative that the Ritz-Carlton, and maybe by extension the Dart properties, are not that interested in hiring local talent?
Yeah. So again, you said it really well when you said it might be above my pay grade.
Yes,
I don't
I
actually
figured.
work for Ritz-Carlton anymore, so it's hard
Yeah.
for me to be able to speak to what they're doing currently.
Right.
I do know that in coming together for this effort, that we are doing the best we can to get the word out there that jobs are available, and to, like I said earlier, get people through the doors. They're wide open at this point. I'm really sorry for that person, the last caller that happened to her.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but sometimes mistakes happen. And I would just encourage that person not to give up, to keep trying, because while it's unfortunate that there might be a perception out there, it's not necessarily, it's a perception, right? It's a perception. It's not necessarily the truth or what's really happening. And so I think for somebody like that, I'd say, don't give up, keep trying. There are other hotels out there as well. There are the 3 properties of Dart. And of course, I personally would love to see more people in my hotel or in one of the 3 hotels that are coming together than another hotel, the competition, right? So I'd love to see you come to one of our hotels. But, I also like to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are other opportunities in the hotel business, and not everybody is a fit for each brand, right? So if somebody applies for Ritz-Carlton and it doesn't feel like the right fit from either direction, that doesn't mean that your career in hospitality is over. Each hotel has a different brand and a different type of clientele and a different kind of employee. Frankly. And so I would say not to give up, to keep trying with that hotel or with any of the other hotels.
Okay, I think that's probably the best that Valerie can do with that question, folks. Tommy, good morning, joining us from the Bahamas. Jamila's kind of rolling her eyes at the use of the word mistake. She says, I don't know if that's a mistake. But hopefully these will be learning experiences for your management team, right? I'm sure your management team is listening and they are paying attention to what the general vibe is that's out there. I think the minister has also made a very strong case for encouraging hospitality businesses across the gamut. So whether it's in the restaurant side of things, dive and, tours and that sort of service, as well as the hotel chains, to really look carefully at the available complement of Caymanians, and as you say, people who have the immigration status to be able to work without a work permit, that they will look closely at those individuals to see if they have any opportunities for them. So let's talk a little bit more about the actual job fair tomorrow. So El Rey and Sasha have some points. Jarian says, hello, Valerie.
Hi, Jarian.
Sasha says, please ask her if there are any positions that are available at the job fair for which permits are currently pending. If so, will the permits be withdrawn? So the 89 plus positions, which could be more than, or 89 job titles, which could be more jobs, are any of those, to the best of your knowledge, because she doesn't work at all properties, folks, but are any of those, pending work permits?
The answer to that is yes. Actually,
Okay.
We were talking about what jobs to put out there, and we've made our list of all the positions that are vacant, and to give it, one more shot to those positions that have work permits in, even though they've been advertised in the past, to say, you know what, before those are read, let's open the doors again. So there, we do have positions open or listed, for this, that are positions that have work permits in process. And yeah, if we hire that person locally, then of course we would have to pull the work permit. That's
okay. All right. So El Rey says, in all of my visits and stays at the Ritz, I don't recall coming in contact with a Caymanian. Is there an effort? Now, I know the Ritz is quite interesting in how they do, like they always have the name tag and then they tell you where the person's from. So I feel like at the Ritz, you talked about each property having a different sort of branding, if you will, right? And I think for the Ritz, and correct me if I'm wrong, this might be global, but it's always about this sort of international feel that you have ladies and gentlemen from all over the globe. Is there any way to really try to encourage more front end staff? So being Caymanian, so that when you see that name tag, you actually get to see Caymanian flag and a Caymanian face and interact with someone at that level. Now, I was at the reopening of the Ritz, and I thought it was very, very interesting how a lot of time and effort went into this complete remodeling. Millions of dollars have obviously been spent. And it was all about trying to separate and make this Ritz-Carlton unique and different, and making it something that, like, when you come to the Cayman Ritz property, you walk away with a sense of, oh, that property was unique because they incorporated the thatch palm into the carpet and the decor and the wall art and all this kind of stuff. So it has a very more of a local feel as opposed to like a corporate feel for the property. And I think a lot of people are now saying that it would be fantastic to actually have that extend to the complement of staff as well.
And I wouldn't disagree. And I think that's why the Ritz-Carlton and all three of these hotels, frankly, are holding this job fair so that we can get more Caymanians into the hotel right now as our business is growing. And I would just say as well, I would encourage anybody who's interested in one of those front office jobs to apply.
All right. So we do have a person on WhatsApp saying, why did she say that we have positions open? I mean, listed. And so I think you might have changed what you said there. But so this person's reading a little bit into that. Why did she change it from open to listed? Is it only an exercise to tick a box to say that they tried, but no Caymanians wanted jobs, so we need 800 permits? So the underlying question is this really a genuine recruitment exercise?
Yeah, sure. No problem. I said open and then I said listed just because I was looking at the list and I was thinking about list. There was no underlying agenda there. All the positions will be open online by tomorrow for the fair to match the listing. And yeah, I think that was just a matter of semantics. And yes, this is a genuine effort. We are really facing a challenge right now where our occupancy is growing and we don't have enough staff. And we'd much rather hire somebody who's on island, who knows the country, and who is able to show that to our guests from everywhere else in the world, and not spend the money on a work permit and have somebody start immediately or within the next couple of weeks instead of having to wait several months for them. It's the right thing to do. And it's the best business decision to do as well. So, but all around, this is a genuine effort. We need to get more staff in order to serve our guests. And what better pool to take from than our Caymanian constituent.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about the job fair. El Rey said the closest he saw at the Ritz to Caymanian was a Jamaican, and there were several of them at the 7 restaurants. So let me encourage everyone. Let's think positive here. Let's give the Ritz and the Dart properties the benefit of the doubt. Valerie is here making a good concerted effort this morning. I can't even recall them ever putting on a job fair like this. So this might be a first. And that being the case, maybe we're having a changing of, the way things are done. So let's accept people at face value until they show us something different. So that's what I would say about anyone who's kind of thinking that this is just another ploy, a bit of shadiness going on here. So Valerie, let's talk then about the specifics of the event tomorrow. So we're getting started at 9:30 a.m.
Yes, it's 9:30. It will be held in the ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton. They have the biggest space, really, and the most availability right now. So it's being held there. And it's 9:30 to 12:30. You can come anytime during that window. We do want you to bring a copy of your resume if you have one. What you'll do is you'll come in. We do want to encourage this to be only for people who do not need a work permit. So unfortunately, if you're listening this morning and you need a work permit, the event wouldn't be for you. So it's only for Caymanians, status holders, permanent residents, or RERC holders. We will ask you to verify that at the door. We won't ask you to bring your certificate or anything like that, but we'll ask the question. And we'll be just registering you when you come in. And then when you come in, you'll have the opportunity to talk to people from all 3 hotels. We'll have it set up so that if you're interested in a job in food and beverage, for example, you can go to sort of the food and beverage corner, and there'll be representatives from all 3 hotels there in food and beverage. Or if you're interested in more on the room side, which is like front office, housekeeping, laundry, pool and beach, any of those, you'll have people in one area from all 3 hotels that way. And then we'll also have hotel specific booths. So let's say you wanted to just learn more about the Hampton. It's a new hotel. Let's hear about it. You can go straight to the Hampton booth and learn about that and talk to the representatives from the Hampton to learn about that brand and that hotel and whether that could be a fit for you and what they're offering. So it'll be a bit of that from branding and also from sort of job functions and representatives from all 3 hotels. We will have you'll get a sheet. I'm calling it a passport. It's not really a passport. It's more like a worksheet with instructions. So asking you to kind of let us know what jobs you're interested in. If you're interested in any future training opportunities, we are looking at putting together a training program between the 3 hotels, but that is still in the works. And so getting some information on what kind of training people would like to see and or whether they're interested or not will help us form that training. So you'll fill that out and then you'll just talk to people. And then when you make that connection and there's a position that you say, you know what, this one works for me, and it's click, I don't know what to say. So it's going to work. Then we'll schedule you immediately there and then for an interview, and we'll write it down on your sheet. So when you're leaving, you're taking away a sheet that says, I spoke to this person and I have a meeting on let's say Tuesday at 9 a.m. to follow up. So you're going to go away with something in your hand. And if there isn't that match, then, the position that you're looking for isn't available or whatever it is, then you can also still take away another sheet, which will explain how to apply for any of the 3 hotels for future opportunities.
Right. Okay. And will there be any opportunity to get some feedback? So say, for example, I'm a candidate and I show up and I'm, interested in a particular job, and you guys say, no, that's not quite a match or whatever. Will we get any feedback on why that is? 'Cause I think it can be very useful to candidates for someone to be honest with them and say, this is why, maybe you're not a good fit for this particular property, or why you didn't get the job. Are there ever any opportunities for that type of, post-application feedback?
I think that during that conversation that they're having at the career fair is a great opportunity to just say, would I be considered for this job? And if not, why? And to get that feedback face to face. I think that's a great opportunity for that. Or if anybody is looking for further feedback, they can always share their email and just say, hey, contact me later and we can reach out to them. This career fair tomorrow isn't the formal application process. So this is sort of like a precursor to the application. If we do say, all right, tomorrow, Tuesday, you're going to have that interview at 9 a.m., then there are instructions on how to apply. We will request that person then go online and do the formal application before the interview. So then if they're interviewed and they go through the full interview and they are not selected and they want feedback, all they have to do is ask. The standard, I think, it's hard for me, again, to speak for the other hotels. I don't know what the hiring process is at the Hampton, for example. But I would say that the standard in general is you get the automated email, right? Like that other caller that says, sorry, you're not going to be considered. But if you want more feedback, happy to provide it. I think the best way to learn and grow is to know where you need to improve so that you can, or not even improve, but why maybe it wasn't a match. Sometimes it's not about improving. It's just you might not be the right fit, but it's about knowing how and why that decision was made. So I would say, like, if you're not getting the feedback right there and then, and you really want it, just reach out and ask.
All right. Very good. So someone mentioned that a lot of tourists think that the Jamaican dialect is actually Caymanian dialect and is from the Cayman Islands. We have some WhatsApp commentators. One person says that they were glad that you mentioned that the first question they'll be asking is if you are a PR holder, Caymanian or RERC, because they actually heard a lot of their friends who were permit holders saying that they would be attending the job fair. So again, folks, just a reminder that this is for Caymanians and people with some form of Caymanian status only. Correct. And there's a person who wants to know if you have anything on the maintenance side of things. They're a little bit older. They're saying that they're 60 years old and their experience is in maintenance. And they're wondering if you had any opportunities on that list of anything on the maintenance side.
I am looking right now at a position called engineer at the Ritz-Carlton. So yes, there's also golf grounds superintendent for someone who has the experience in landscape maintenance. And those are the positions that I see in that area.
Okay. All right. So perhaps they should walk with their resume. So you'd like for people to come with a resume. They don't necessarily have to have their immigration documentation, but just be mindful that this is for Caymanians only.
Yes.
Is there anything else that they should come with tomorrow?
A smile, an open mind, a great attitude, and willingness to see what opportunities are out there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds fantastic. What is the number one thing that you look for as the director of peoples and culture for a candidate when someone walks in and they're interested in a position? What's the number one, if you had to pick out a single thing that you really look for in a candidate, what is it?
One thing is very difficult. I would say it's and this is a really hokey thing, right? But there's this thing called the can-do attitude, right? It's that like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get this done, and I have that drive and that there's so much when you say can-do attitude that's wrapped around in that. There's the positivity, there's the initiative, there is the willingness, there's a whole bunch wrapped into that. And that's why I said it sounds so cheesy, but it's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for someone who wants to make things happen, who loves guests service. Even in the admin areas, service is a big deal. This is the service industry. So for example, myself in human resources, I consider our employees my guests when they come to my department. So that service attitude is huge for us. And so that's what we're looking for.
All right. Very good. So Jerian says, start small, people. I started in housekeeping and left in accounting. So Jerian is saying there is that possibility of upward mobility. You can start based obviously on your qualifications, your credentials, your work experience. You can start in a position that's best suited for you. And then there is some potential growth there as well. Fantastic. We'd love to see some, I've got this idea in my head that we would love to see some of the stories like maybe Jerian and other people who have moved up in your properties, Caymanians, and share some of that with our audience, because, if people don't know about any success stories that you have, then this sort of pervasive, whether it's true or not, but this, sort of impression that's out there about the Ritz-Carlton in particular is going to continue to sort of grow and continue to be repeated. And, it's like people who come to the Cayman Islands and they hear, oh, Caymanians are lazy. And they just sort of accept that narrative. And they don't know that Caymanians have a very long history, seafaring history of being some really hardworking individuals. And, it's a bit of misinformation that might have been put out there by a few bad apples that spoil it for everyone. So I think that the more cases and more examples that you can show of people, success stories, and the people, achieving great things within your organizations, then the better for everybody, because everybody can say, well, there's a real life story that I had no idea and I knew nothing about. Wow, this person has worked at the Ritz for 10 years. And look at that. They're actually Caymanian. So maybe we'll brainstorm a little bit on some of those, sharing some of those more positive examples of success stories.
I'm sure that there are lots of those out there, and I'd love to do a piece on showcasing some of those people at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you have a lot to prep to get ready for tomorrow's event. So good luck with the event. And again, drum roll, everybody. Trust me, as a Caymanian who's always advocating for Caymanians in the workplace, let me just say that I want to encourage all of you who are looking for positions in hospitality to go out to the DART job fair tomorrow. It's a Careers Day job fair. Learn more about what's available, meet some people in the industry, walk with your resume, walk with that positivity, that positive attitude, that smile on your face, and like she said, that can-do attitude. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, Valerie. All right. Bye. All right, folks. That is Valerie from the Kimpton Sea Fire, Director of People and Culture. So again, you'll probably see her on location tomorrow. I'll be going by to check things out. As you guys know, we like to be in the mix to see exactly what's going on. So Jerian says she went from housekeeping at your service to administrative assistant to accounting clerk. So there you go. Jean Scott says, I started as a bartender, and when I left the industry, I was an assistant food and beverage manager. So, some good stories. Thank you guys so much for sharing those with us. Because I think people need to know that there can be upward mobility, even as we complain about, certain things in the industry. Let's try to fix it. And we have to work with this. This is a combination of the public, government, and private sector. It's a trifecta effect, right? We all have to do our part. We all have to, encourage a shift in the system and a change in the system. And listen, I hear you, and I hear your complaints. I didn't really want to put Valerie on the spot, but the question is always out there, in particular about the Ritz, because I think they just have a longer history here, and they kind of have a reputation that precedes them. And like I always say to people, perception is reality for people, whether that's the reality or not. If that's the pervasive perception that's out there, you've got to know that, you've got to make some changes. And there are ways to make some changes and to adjust. Yeah. So, we're willing to give them a chance. We're keeping a very keen eye, obviously, on the situation. But like I said, you trust people. This is my sort of basic philosophy in life, is you trust people until they give you a reason not to. So you can't walk around entirely jaded in life. I'm the type of person that always has a open mind, but two opened eyes as well. So yes, I am going to trust you, but at the same time, I don't blindly trust people. Can I tell you, I watched another episode last night of Inventing Anna. Oh my gosh, I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, but some people are so naive. It's just amazing how a lot of the people that she came in contact with, a lot of her friends, were just extremely naive. Right? They went beyond accepting her at face value, because there was a lot of behavior that she was engaged in that you'd be like, she's dishonest. She's not paying her bills. She's not doing this. And they were still like, oh, she's a good person. She's rich. She's going to do this. There was a moment in last night's episode where her friend, what was her name? That went on the Moroccan trip or whatever. Was her name Valerie as well? Anyway, no, Rachel. I think it was Rachel. And her friend is telling somebody in the hotel, but she's rich. She's got all this money. And one of the hotel managers was like, does she really? Why would you think that? A rich person doesn't go on vacation and is unable to pay their bills if they're really wealthy, like she claims, and has a $60 million trust fund. Those are not the type of people that every credit card they give, the credit card doesn't work. So sometimes we are trusting, I just shared that example. We are trusting beyond what we should be because we don't want to accept what is right in front of us. And I think sometimes we distrust people just because of their reputation. And the reputation can be completely wrong. I myself has been a little bit of a victim of this. Like, people meet me and they're like, Sandy, oh my God, you're so different than I thought. And I'm like, okay, well, did you know me before? Like, where'd you get these thoughts from? No, it's like what people say in the narrative that's out there about you. I'm like, yep, the narrative isn't always accurate. You don't really know people until you get to know them. And so oftentimes I do feel like, people will just say things and form an opinion about a situation, whether it's a company, an organization, an individual, that is completely off the mark. And they have garnered that opinion based on what other people have said to them. And then when you talk to those other people, it's like, well, where did you get your opinion from? Well, somebody else said this. And it's like, okay. And it's like playing a little bit of Chinese telephone. The original message or the original person who started that narrative is nowhere to be found, sort of thing. And you don't even know where that came from. And so sometimes that happens as well. Do I personally believe that the Ritz-Carlton has a reputational issue? Yes, of course I do. Do I think there's some truth to it? Yes, of course I do. Do I think when we asked that question back in, I forget when that press conference was, months ago, probably August or September, Mark was dismissive of the question. He said, that's ridiculous. We don't have a problem. And I thought, if you're not even willing to admit that you may not have a problem in your opinion, right? But if you're not willing to admit that you have a reputational problem where people think something of you that might not be the truth, then you can never actually correct it. And that was a takeaway from the feedback that I got from the way in which he answered the question. It occurred to me that here's someone who's living in a bit of a bubble. He doesn't know what the average Caymanian thinks of the Ritz-Carlton. Maybe he doesn't really interact with many average Caymanians, so to speak. But it would do you well, and it would, be in your best interest to have actually listened to the question with an open mind and go, you know what, Sandy? All right. You guys over at CMR, you got your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the community. And if you're asking this question on behalf of people in the community, maybe it's something we need to look at. Maybe we need to sort of rethink how we are handling our applications and handling candidates and so on. Jamila shared an experience, right? That has her confused. How do you leave an interview and less than 2 minutes later, you're still on West Bay Road? You get a reply saying, oops, sorry, you're not a good fit for the job. I don't even know how you get to your email that quickly. So she almost feels like this whole thing was just a setup. They were just doing the interview just for the sake of doing the interview. That email was already pre-drafted before she did the interview. And all they had to do was hit the send button. And that was the end of that. That's how people feel when they have an experience like that. And oftentimes, folks, you've got to listen to what people are saying when they tell you how you're making them feel or how a situation is making them feel. Big shout out to Reliable Industries during the holidays. They made me feel super good because I came and cleaned all of my cushions. So people were like, ooh, did you get new furniture? And I said, nope, I just called Reliable.
Reliable Industries offers premier floor and rug cleaning services. Our deep clean option is ideal for accent and area rugs. Clean rugs and floors have many health benefits for both the workplace and home by removing allergens and pet hair and dander. Reliable has the qualified team and equipment to return your floors to pristine condition. Keep your floors looking their best by contacting the professionals at Reliable Industries today at 345-949-9303. Reliable Industries. The clean you expect, the service you deserve.
All right, folks, the clean you deserve. Francisco McKenzie says all these work permits that we're giving out hardly seems that we're interested in improving or finding Caymanians. Now, there was an article somewhere that I saw that talked about actually there have been, Francisco, I think you have this reversed. It said 10,600 work permits deferred over the past 6 months was the headline. It didn't say that they were granted. So just because somebody applies for work permit doesn't mean that they're going to get it. It has said that immigration has deferred that many work permits, essentially meaning that, they're telling them to go back and find a Caymanian. Over 2,687 work permits have been refused. So that's a good thing. A deferral is a good thing. So that's not what's been approved. I think you might have misread that headline. So out of the 39,705 applications for work permits and renewals, of that, 10,600 were deferred and 2,687 were refused. Now, look at the quandary of this at the end of the day, right? I have a Caymanian business owner who has been messaging me, oh, Sandy, we need to talk about we need to talk about how immigration is holding back Caymanians by not approving work permits, Caymanian business owners. And I said, wow, how do I address this issue? Right? Because this is a small business owner and he's saying that he can't get a work permit approved for his business. And, they are, he thinks that this is discriminatory and he should get a work permit and the system is set up to make small businesses fail. And, I said to him, listen, it's such an interesting situation that you found yourself in because most of the time I am here having the opposite conversation because Caymanians are like, no, turn down work permits. Until it's your time to be on the receiving end of owning a company where work permit gets turned down. Then you, the Caymanian, are complaining that this isn't right and this is a problem. Sorry, reading a message. Right? And this is a problem. What do you want me to say? And I said to him, how do I make this argument when I've got Caymanians out there saying the opposite, that no, Caymanians want these jobs that are done. He's saying, listen, I have looked for a Caymanian. I can't find a Caymanian. I can't, what do I do? And immigration still turned down his work permit. And he is screaming that there is an immigration issue here that needs to be highlighted, and I need to put immigration blast. I said to him, I said, how can I put, I said, you need to go through the protocols of appealing it and, I guess going through that appeals tribunal process. But how do I put Caymanians on blast, or the immigration department on blast, when the vast majority of Caymanians have the opposite experience? But that's not his experience. He's trying to start up a new business. He's trying to get a company going. And he's saying that, this is an issue for him. Let me read you some of the messages that he sent me. More recently on Monday, let me see how far back I can find messages from him. Oh, he's been messaging for a minute. Let me just see here now. Immigration. So he said, we go back to last year, I think. Okay, so this is February the 7th. He says, Sandra, this is it now. I need your help, and I mean it. Immigration is biased, unprofessional, and targeting persons on personal feelings. I'm going to file a complaint to the ombudsman on that gal with all the heads that I emailed, and I got no response from October. I messaged Chris until I week. So, again, we have a situation here where a Caymanian business owner is saying, y'all need to do something about it. So he's saying that immigration is biased, unprofessional, and targeting persons on feelings. And I was like, hello. And he's like, yes, Sandy, this is crazy. And I said, maybe you talk to people like on the admin side, I don't know, France Manderson, Mr. Wesley, they deal with that portfolio. And he says, well, I thought this was Chris's portfolio. And I want to say this again, y'all need to stop going to politicians with this kind of foolishness. Politicians should not, if you call them and say a civil servant is unprofessional, they shouldn't be getting involved in that. That's the governor, remember the hierarchy in the law, who has passed on that responsibility constitutionally to the head of the civil service, which is France Manderson. Y'all got to complain about a civil servant, go to France Manderson. If he does nothing about it, then you go to the ombudsman about the situation. He says they're very unprofessional. Now, are they unprofessional because they've turned down a work permit? He says that they need to be taught a lesson not to play with people's livelihood. Okay. And he says, I can't play it. Oh, I think I was sending him a voice note. Resend. All right. Then he goes on. So that was February the 7th. Then he messaged again. On the 22nd of February, he says, Sandra, exclamation point 3 times. Then people in immigration are still not responding to my application I submitted from August of last year. He says somebody named Antoinette Dixon is stopping it, and Laura and her boss is doing nothing about it. I don't know who Antoinette Dixon. Anyway, I don't really know. And he's like, please reach out to Wayne or someone for me, or post my shit on Mall Road. Post my story. I have email receipts. And I'm like, I can't say what's happening here, right? Now, responding to emails, that is definitely unprofessional. You should at least respond and tell people where their application is or what's going on. But if they have turned it down, if they have deferred it, I can't go in and question an immigrations officer's decision and why that was done, especially in a climate where we're saying hire Caymanians. You see, this is a perfect example of where y'all can't have your cake and eat it too. But people want to have their cake and eat it too. So this is a Caymanian business owner who is saying that he is unable to hire anybody. And he messaged again, Sandra, help. And he's sick of these people not being held accountable. Police, immigration, shaking my head. And I said, well, you know, I sent him a voice and I can't remember what I said. And I was like, I think I basically said, you know, what are they saying? I don't understand what the issue is here, really. And he says that they're saying that the reason is unreasonable. And I resubmitted, and then I got no response, no decision. I provide what they say they wanted, which was unfounded. So again, he's questioning, oh, do they really need this? But this is my thing. How can we question them and say, oh, you're asking for all this stuff, this is too much? When on the other hand, we're saying, oh, well, if it's the Ritz-Carlton, if it's the Kimpton, if it's this organization, if it's that organization, we want you to put them through the ringer. Do they not have a responsibility to put everybody through the ringer? And I'm going to show you a perfect example of that here in a second, of how the system can't be willy-nilly. We can't have it both ways, right? So this Caymanian goes on to say, Caymanians don't want these low-end jobs. They need to get better paying jobs. Really? See, this is your own Caymanian saying that you all don't want these low-end jobs. So that's why he needs a work permit. Now, that's either true or it's not true. Are there all Caymanians out there who don't want low-end jobs? So these Caymanians don't want to be gardeners and housekeepers. Is not what we should be pushing for Caymanians. That's what they use to trick the public when permit numbers decrease, while the big firms still get the permits for the jobs that matter, that will impact Caymanian lives. A $1,200 a month job is taking no food off of a Caymanian table. Some of y'all not making that right now, though. I'm just saying. He says that be specific with your fight. It's not with the low end and gas attendant jobs or nannies or yard man. I don't know about that. And then he says, so the 1 and 2 staff small businesses man must pay the price for the big multi-million-dollar corporations, and they're boycotting my application. How can you deny a work permit for a company that only had 1 staff and provided contracts? When email, the heads, no response. When asking for meeting, denied. Email left unanswered. So there's no Caymanians that want gardening jobs, housekeeping jobs, and that sort of thing. Well, I know that there's some Caymanians who actually that's all that they have done their entire lives. And that's what they're qualified to do. So on the other hand, let me show you guys something else that was sent to me over the weekend by someone who saw someone selling illegally on the streets. Let me see if I can show you guys this one. So this person sends this comment saying, Sandy, you need to address this. Why is this happening? Okay. And this is a Jamaican fella who was on the streets selling wallets and stuff like that. So I don't know who this fella is. And he's about to be put in blast here right now for working illegally. But this is part of the problem in the Cayman Islands. And I'm going to tell you what I actually said to this person. So let me show you this photo. And then you tell me how Caymanians are part of the problem. So here's a guy who is selling wallets. That's a handful of wallets on the side of the street. And the person's like, listen, he does not have a work permit to be doing this sort of work. Yeah. I said, okay. Not only does he not have a work permit to be doing this, I'm sure of that. He has no business license. He's just there hustling. So they said, oh, you need to call him out. And I said, do I really? Or is the issue here Caymanians, and I don't care how you got your Caymanian status when I say Caymanians, who actually are taking out work permit for individuals who they have no work for. So I don't know how this guy is in the country. I don't know who took out his work permit to allow him to be here. Is he here as a visitor? I don't know what his immigration status is. But what I do know is we have a real issue with Caymanians taking out work permits for people. We've talked about this before in the program, that have no actual work for them. And that's a problem. And I see it all the time. right? They set up gardening businesses. I mean, I don't know how we got to the point where we have so many gardening and pool service businesses and all this kind of stuff, but they set up these businesses, construction businesses, and the work doesn't exist. And so the people are here and they're like, well, you kind of float around, you do the bare minimum. These people are making, $800 a month, right? Trying to survive in the Cayman Islands off of that. And the narrative is, oh, I'll have you here and then the work will pick up. Or in some instances, they actually make the worker go out there and hustle to try to get the business instead of the business owner doing that. So one of the ways in which I know immigration has had to crack down, folks, is especially when it comes to gardening services and certain service-based industries, they want to see the actual contracts that you have already. And I suspect that this business owner is probably falling into this little bit of a circular loop, right? Where they're saying, show us your contracts. And he's probably like, well, I've got contracts, but that's pending on actually getting a worker. And this is a difficult situation because you can't get the work done and fulfill those contracts if you don't actually have someone working. And so immigration is having to, and I've assisted people with work permits and referrals and denials and stuff. So I know exactly what immigration is looking for. They're going, right, so you have 2 workers. They need to be working full time, making X amount based on what you said. You need to be able to pay pension, health insurance for them, which are mandatory by law. Plus, on top of that, right, you probably want to take something out of the business. So let's look at the potential of what the business is actually going to be making. Is there enough gardening contracts here for this person to be working full time? And really and truly, if immigration doesn't see it in the number of contracts that you're showing them, signed and verifiable contracts, then they might be turning down your work permit. And the small businesses are yelling, well, this isn't fair. Have them go after the big companies. But is it fair to say the law only applies to the big companies? The law should apply to everyone equally, because here's the thing, folks. This fella here, you better believe your bottom dollar doesn't have a work permit at a big company. He has a work permit at a Caymanian, and I'm going to show you a video here in a second where somebody was questioning him. He has a work permit at a Caymanian business, a small business, right? I don't know exactly who took out the permit, but I'm just saying the likelihood of it being some little mom and pop person is real. And they have no work for him. And you know what happens when you live in a place as expensive as the Cayman Islands to pay bills, even sharing a room? Y'all trying to rent a room for $800 a month now? What that means for people who aren't making any money, they're going to go out there and hustle. He's hustling with wallets. If hustling with wallets not going to work, some people will turn to other illegal activity. These are the real conversations that we need to be having in this country. And so I can't just hold the Ritz-Carlton accountable or the DART organization accountable. Oh, you must hire Caymanians. And then on the low end of things, we ignore the problems there. We ignore people who are hiring and don't have any work for people because they're creating a problem that all of us have to live and deal with. We often talk about marriages of convenience and how that is also a problem in this community. And how we as Caymanian, our own people, are the ones who are perpetrating that evil on ourselves. But yet we want to blame other people for our problems. So let's have a look at this.
I think I'm open up and explain to her how much it is, you said?
25.
$25. Karen, this man selling these wallets by Macross, and they're 25 and they're 100% leather.
Yeah, good quality.
Good quality. And you can contact him at, what's your number?
547.
547
2354.
2354. Wallets for sale. I'm going to send you the message now so you can purchase them.
So, there you go. Wallets for sale. Does he have a business license to be at Macross on the corner selling wallets? I highly doubt it. The ugly truth. says that business owner isn't worried about the social implications of hiring foreign workers over Caymanians. He's only worried about money, his money, typical of many business owners out for self. And, this is reality, the ugly truth that we're talking about here. It's a problem from the bottom all the way up. But we can't have different rules or different ideas that operate at the bottom and then some at the top. You got to see how there has to be some equal application of the law. It's like last night I was having a conversation with an acquaintance of mine. She might be listening to the program about the non-payment of pension. This is something that is becoming so prolific in this country. A couple months ago, I heard Magistrate Hernandez talking about this. And she said, listen, this is theft. When you take from people's pensions and you don't pay it into a pension fund and you spend it elsewhere in the business or do whatever, it is the equivalent of theft. And it is. And again, these are Caymanian business owners that are doing this. Right? That's what's going on here. So when I sit in court and I see whether it's a Gillard McLaughlin, he had a trial this week for the same foolishness, right? Non-payment of pensions, thousands of dollars. And I see the businesses like McRuss, they're in court for not paying pensions. They were supposed to be sentenced this week, but that was delayed. I have to wonder, how does this work exactly? Right? These are Caymanian-owned businesses that we're saying, yes, go out there, hire people, put them in a position. The ugly truth says it's all about money. Well, by law, you need to manage your finances, because one of the implications of hiring staff is that you have to be able to pay pension and insurance. And if you cannot pay those, then you got a problem. Happens all the time. Remember when they used to list online? I think they need to go back to doing this, actually. The pensions office would list who was in arrears with their pensions. It's a lot of companies, Caymanian owned, in contravention of the law. Do I feel sorry for a company like Champion House, she's supposed to be sentenced this week as well for non-payment of pensions, potentially over $100,000? Of course I feel sorry for people like that. But me feeling sorry for them has no bearing in the fact that they're still breaching the law. They're still breaking the law. And it's theft and it's wrong. I can like the person, I can like the food from the restaurant or the business or whatever, but you're still engaging in illegal behavior. And your staff are suffering for it. And there are some people who, especially if the worker is a foreign worker, they do it even more, because they know a lot of people on work permits are going to be afraid of speaking up and speaking out. Not paying salaries, not paying pension. Sometimes people show up and they have no insurance. You all know we've talked about a particular former minister of health, still in government, still got his job security. His pension's getting paid. His health insurance is getting paid. And yet his company was falling off in that regard. I can't give anybody right for wrong. Right? It is what it is. Mark says, Sandy, question is, how many other nationalities are importing cars on the island from B forward, the Japanese sites, and selling without a car license? Listen, Let me actually spend the remainder of my time talking about who issues business licenses again. Hold on, let me tell you. This division here, DCI. Okay. I don't know what kind of enforcement DCI has, but they need to shape up. So to Mark's point, they need to shape up. Just over the weekend, I was having a think about this when I saw the video of the young man selling the wallets. How is DCI giving licenses to people? It's like they don't seem to have any criteria other than, okay, you filled out the form, you've proved you're a Caymanian, you have submitted a police clearance for certain types of businesses. All they do is go through this paperwork checklist. They obviously don't care about the viability of the business, so that's on you if it's going to be successful or not. And I can understand why that is, because you can't look at someone's business and tell them, well, this business isn't going to work, so we're not going to give you a business license. Imagine the uproar in the Caymanian community that y'all would have about that. You'd be having pitchforks out of the DCI office. But where I think they need to do a better job is where companies are not paying pension and insurance, and they're obviously in contravention of certain aspects of the existing laws. How is it that they end up getting a business license renewed? Or in some instances, how do they get a new business license? So there have been people who've shut down a business entirely because that business has been a failure and they haven't been paying pension and insurance. And then they turn around and run and go open up another business. You know how many times I've seen that happen, and DCI just rubber stamps it. How can you rubber stamp someone who has outstanding pension arrears and labor complaints against them? This is where the agencies now need to communicate with each other. So DCI, one of the questions on that form should be, do you have any outstanding labor complaints, including non-payment of pension and insurance? And if you take yes, and the systems, the computer systems need to start talking to each other now, and works can show, and immigration can show that you're not paying insurance, you're not doing certain things by law that you're supposed to be doing, or you're being investigated for taking out fraudulent work permits and this sort of thing, DCI needs to say, oh, deferred or denied. There has to be a tightening up of the system completely. And I really feel like DCI is missing the mark. They supposedly have somebody in enforcement. They have an enforcement division. What do they do? Enforcing what? Because you know the number of complaints. Let me give you an example. Remember this guy the other day who finally got charged? What's his name now? The shutter guy. Hold on one second. Let me find him. I can't remember his name. He's such a fraudster. Garfield Rob. Yes, how could I forget? He's been robbing people. He's finally charged with one bag of charges here, right? Finally. And financial crime was onto him. They've had complaints. Police have had complaints for forever. DCI received complaints about what he was doing way back when. And they did nothing. They kept giving the man a license. And then finally, when he recognized that, oh, okay, people are going to be looking for my name on the license, the wife went and took out a license for him. It was her trading as whatever, what her name is, Claristina E. Robb of Shutters and Screen Installation. So they even changed the company name. Listen, folks, we live in the 21st century. There are computerized systems that can track people all over the world. Complex financial, services. You want someone in an AML list, they pop up. You can do AML searches. People name can pop up in all kind of databases. Cayman needs to start getting with the program. From you see the name Rob, nobody with the last name Rob. I don't care if their name Garfield, Claristina, Samantha Rob. That should be a red flag. Like, oh, wait a minute. Who is this person? The next person that we can talk about is the Jamaican guy who supposedly works as a gardener for his mom, but is moonlighting in the entertainment business. Somebody help remind me of his name again. He had a photography business. He claims that he was finding people models. What the heck was his name again? Ugh, y'all know who I'm talking about. Vibes Entertainment. What's his name again? Entertainment. Okay. Mario. Thank you, Mark. Oh, his name is just not coming to me. How many stories we have to write about Mario? Mario's work permit status has only been as a gardener in this country. But the man has ran multiple, he's been a promoter, he's been a photographer, he's been a recruitment agency for girls going out at events. How is Mario able to do all this stuff when he has held one work permit in the Cayman Islands? His mother has hired him as whatever gardener. But yet this man is out there moonlighting under all sorts of businesses. So he's been on a work permit for his mother's nursery business. Yet he's not out there working in the nursery business at all. So it's like, how is this permitted? He had on social media, if you guys will remember, that he is the owner, right? So he's given immigration enforcement all the evidence they possibly needed. Remember this article that we did back in, what year was this? 2021, January 2021. On social media, the man says, I am an owner at Vibes Time Models and owner of Vibes Time Entertainment. Are you really? Because according to immigration, your work permit status is you work as a gardener for your mom's company. Since when you became an owner of these other businesses? And once again, Caymanians are complacent in the whole mix-up situation. What am I talking about? I'm talking about all the fool girls that he had marrying him, marriages of convenience. I think he's at least number 3 or 4 now. So other people had the business license. Cassia Webb, Ashley Christian. She held the business license for a year. Apparently she was married to him and quickly realized what he was. There were times when there was no business license at all, and he's still out there doing business. People have put up posts about this. Where's my money? So he's ripping people off. He's been blacklisted from renting from certain businesses because of stealing. He is not the caliber of individual that we should want remaining in this country by any stretch of the imagination. Dude is all over the place. Immigration infractions, ripping people off, allegations of being too hands-on with young girls, all sorts of stuff. The last time there was this guy named Michael Webster, not to be confused with the Michael Webster who sells insurance, by the way, who was trying to get government to approve or works to approve a work permit, a sharing of a work permit with his company. Jody Ann Tater from the RCIPS, that was the first wife. They divorced in 2014. Now he finally got his anchor baby, y'all. He finally got an anchor baby with a Caymanian girl. So he's trying to get papers off of that child. And, now that poor parent is complaining. Right? About what a horrible father he is. Go figure. How the child always comes home with bruises and all sorts of stuff. Not taking care of the child financially. I'm just like, what woman in their right mind would have entertained him? Oh, they didn't know. Well, clearly y'all not reading CMR because you would have known. We've been reporting on this guy for a minute. He just wants to be able to stay in Cayman and enjoy a good life that he wouldn't have anywhere else and doesn't really want to work too hard for it. Mark says, what about bar owners making their staff pay for their own work permit? So Mark, if you think that that's just bar owners, you better think again. It runs the gamut of businesses. I have seen examples. Remember that situation where the young man ran into, right here in Savannah, the Indian cooking place there? You know, I started digging into that whole situation. And that Caymanian business owner, she actually spoke to us and did a whole interview and told us about, she's going to be opening up another competing business right next to the Indian people that she had supposedly hired. The whole thing was a scam, folks. Those people paid for their own work permits. They paid for their own business license. Is she standing up there as a Caymanian, pretending to be an active business owner? Y'all don't be fooling me. I don't know who you think you're fooling, but you're not fooling me. Because, boy, I got some sources. And some of these people are afraid. They're being threatened. They're being abused. Some barmaids. I'm very close to calling out some of y'all local bar owners. You got here some of the voice notes and stuff that I get from people about how they hire them and they can't even pay them. And I said, well, no wonder prostitution is so rampant in some of these bars. They want to bring in these girls from these certain countries, and then they don't pay them what they're getting or what they should be getting, what they have down in the paper, and they can't survive here. So the first thing they're going to do is prostitute, because that's the one thing they can sell really quickly, or try and find a sugar daddy or something. Try and find some 85-year-old Caymanian to get married to so he hurry up and drop dead and they can secure his pension. The sad truth is that we as Caymanians are creating our own problems with foolishness like this. And it's like everybody knows, it's an open secret who's doing it. And still nothing is done. Maria's saying, what's the penalty for non-payment of pension? Well, they drag it out for 5 years in court. And by the time they come around to it, then people are like, oh, well, I can only pay $300 a month. And it's like $100,000 that you owe in pension. What they need to do, Maria, is, again, the pensions, who's responsible for pensions, needs to get on top of it. You know, we've talked about here on the program, you get a mortgage in the bank, right? You default by your second or third month, the bank is like, ooh, we got a problem. We got to take this house from you, because they recognize that it's a snowball effect. Because you're like, no, I'm going to get caught up. The chances of you being able to get caught up financially when you're already 2 and 3 months in arrears, because remember now, you got to get caught up with the interest and whatever premium you're paying. So the arrears plus you got to pay current payments, and it becomes increasingly difficult after 3 months for you to do that unless you're getting some windfall of money. You got a $60 million, what was Anna claiming in that show? She's got a $60 million trust fund. That's how the bank is going to be looking at you. The pensions office needs to take a very similar approach. If you have gone 3-4 months without paying pensions to your employees, they need to haul you down in a big way. There needs to be some sanctions. You need to be like Russia. We're going to put you in the sanctions list. Because the chances of you getting caught up after that is slim to none. I'm just saying. When someone is $100,000 in arrears, where do you think they get that money from? Right? So it was like the Chin lady, may she rest in peace. She since passed away. So they say don't speak ill of the dead. We're not going to speak ill of her, but we're going to still speak the truth. Because even in death, the truth should be what prevails. She owed so much money in pensions that at one point the judge was like questioning her finances. How can you be owing so much money in pensions? And you still renting a house for $4,000 or $5,000 a month? And you come before me and talk about the fact that you can only pay $300 a month on the arrears. You need to cut back on your expenses. You're spending too much money. This is a problem. Roger says, what about the big companies who do everything that the law requires them to do, but when they invest in the stock market and lose most of your money? Well, listen, in terms of pensions, once they're actually putting in a pension fund, the administrators of the pension fund, and that's how, I mean, that part of it is what it is. That's how pensions work. But the truth of the matter is, Roger, you speak to any pension fund administrator, the way in which pensions are supposed to work over the duration of a 30, 40-year working career, right? You will almost invariably come out on top. The losses that you see, the incremental losses that you see are over smaller periods of time. And then the market adjusts and you actually gain on your pensions. And it depends on, that's why pension fund administrators have to know a little thing about investments. So when you're younger, they can be more aggressive with your pension investments. So they can invest in funds and whatever that have a higher rate of return, but more risk. As you start to get older and you have families and whatever, they will make adjustments to what and where they put you in the investment schemes that are available. So they're going to start to then push you into investment pension programs that are less risky, because you get to the age now where you're going to soon start to need your money. So that's a whole other discussion, but there's actually logic and there's proof to show that in the long run, you're going to gain on a pension. You're not going to lose. But y'all be thinking short term. And that's why every time something happens and you want to run and go take out money out of your pension fund, some of y'all need to understand how pension works. You need to set it and forget it. That's what a pension fund should be. It shouldn't be like, oh, an emergency's come up, I need my pension money. It's not a loan. It's not money that you're supposed to be pulling out every 2 seconds, because when you get 65 and 70 years old, there'll be nothing left. And then you're going to rely on the government to take care of you. Y'all don't even want to see the messages and the conversations I was having yesterday with a guy talking about who's going to build him a house. He's a disabled Caymanian living in Dog City and somebody must build him a house. I said, really? Huh. Now that's something. We need an adjustment in our attitudes in this country. Loved Lopez, beautiful profile photo, says, Sandra, when is someone going to address the bus company that government contract the bus services for schools? The bus wardens are paid really poor. Right now, school is closed for a week, and the bus wardens are not paid for the week off. We and the government is paying the bus companies. Is really sad. People have mortgages. Sometimes they're only $600 for the month, depending on how many days schools are open. You know, this is a question. I'm going to send this to the government because this is definitely a question that somebody needs to answer. Because if you have a government contract, you of all people, whether you're providing catering services for government, food, whatever, if you have a government contract, you should be adhering to certain standards, don't you think? Like, seriously. And government should be, I mean, I don't know, when you say low, are they paying them minimum wage? Like, what do they get paid? How do they get paid? I don't know the ins and outs of that situation, so I can't really comment too much. But what I can say is I think that government needs to have a set standard that they try to use for companies that they do business with, to encourage them to actually follow the law. Magdalene says, as you said, these are contracted companies responsible for paying them. I'm assuming that these persons have a monthly rate that they're paid from the ministry. And, you know, on the one hand, as a business owner, those of you who've owned a business will say, well, government can't tell me what to pay my staff, even if I have a contract. But you certainly shouldn't be paying under minimum wage. So again, I don't know what these companies pay. But there should be some opportunity there. There should be some opportunities there for at least a conversation to be had, because these same bus companies are being accused of doing the same thing during COVID. They were being paid and they were not paying staff. Come on now. If you're getting a government contract and you're being paid, you should be paying your staff, especially during the friggin' pandemic. So no standards whatsoever. It's like, really? That shouldn't be acceptable. Frank, good morning. Says, good morning. You're right. Why pension takes so long to pay? When you're retired, you have to pay rent and buy food this month and next month. Well, there is a, I think they have up to, is it 60 days or 90 days if you're at retirement age to process paperwork, because it's not like they just have the money sitting in a bank account. It's actually invested. So there are things that they have to do to be able to redeem that. Maybe we need to have a pension person come on the program and explain some of these finer details of how pensions work. Mark says, oops, say it ain't so. If you start on that, you're going to be here all day, my dear. Magdalene says they're marrying these persons. Once they're married, it opens a whole can of worms. Yep. Cash pot, the gambling. Oh, Lord, we're not even going there. Maria says when people get caught with drugs, assets are seized. Why don't they do the same with people who don't pay? Their people's lives that they're destroying. I think you're onto something there, Maria. I think that there should be some scope for the payment of for the non-payment of pensions to actually confiscate what people have. Honestly, I see people who owe people tons of money in pension, and yet they're going out there opening up another branch, outfitting another physical location to the tune of thousands of dollars. Because you can't walk into a retail space and redo the whole thing now. Shelving, freezer equipment, all this kind of stuff for probably less than $100,000, but yet you owe people pension money? It's like, how did that work exactly? You're prioritizing your bills, which is fine, except when you owe people pension, that should be the number one priority. You shouldn't be able to be living a lifestyle when you out there owing people for pension and health insurance. That's just not right. But that's exactly what is happening. Maria says government should be running pensions on this island. I don't think that's probably the right idea either. There is a government-run pension for civil servants, and they lose money. So I don't think they're the ones you need to look at to run it. But they are the enforcement arm, and they need to do a better job of enforcing things. I think the law needs to be looked at again, and they actually need to start enforcement. So Donna says the government only pays those they have hired, and a good pay too with insurance and pension. But as they reach retired age, the government let them go. It's up to the bus owner to keep them. Yeah, I don't know too much about how this works, the whole bus situation. So unless I speak to someone who's in that sector, you know, I'm not going to know too much about it. But do send us, send us some information. Okay, we had some breaking news this morning that apparently, this is something of interest. Russian troops have seized Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine. This isn't good news, but came in at 7:47 this morning. What a mess. So we've heard that, remember this fire? We reported on this last night. They actually had a fire in the plant. It has been extinguished. They don't think there's any radiation leak. I mean, this whole situation in Russia and Ukraine is crazy. So Russia is trying to control certain things, and one of those is this nuclear plant. And they said they've gotten a hold of it, and it is Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Wow. So they're concerned about nuclear reactors, radiation leaks. So now the international monitors said Friday morning, that's this morning, that there was no immediate signs of any radiation that leaked during the battle for the plant. But this is a very, very dangerous situation. Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, I think is how his name is pronounced, spoke to Vladimir Putin for an hour on the phone Friday, asking him to immediately cease all hostilities in Ukraine and allow humanitarian aid into territories where the fighting continued. Of course, that hasn't happened. So they said they'd speak again soon. The International Paralympic Committee denounced Russia's invasion of Ukraine this morning. This was at the opening of the Beijing Games on Friday, so that has started. And of course, Russia has been banned from participating in these events. President of China, the committee president, Andrew Parsons, I wonder if he has Cayman connections, said he was horrified by the invasion and said he was trying to begin with a message of peace. They've been accused of using cluster bombs and all sorts of stuff. So the situation there continues to be really, really bad. All right, folks, we shall certainly keep you informed. We'll keep an eye on the situation. It's 9:46 already on a Friday morning. Y'all have a fantastic weekend. We have a lot of conversations happening. Please go to the job fair tomorrow. Sign up for the front of office training course that the Department of Tourism is offering. These are some of the things that we can do to start off in the right direction. You guys have a fabulous weekend. The Department of Tourism is pleased to offer this public-private partnership training opportunity with the Wine School. Wine School 3 is presenting a certified front-of-house server course open to all Caymanians 18 and over. Course dates for the day-long training sessions are from March the 21st through the 25th. Don't miss this excellent opportunity to upskill yourself as our islands reopen to tourists. Registration deadline is Monday, March the 7th by 5 p.m. Visit wineschool.ourcayman.ky for more information.
Good day, Cayman. Today, I want to send a very brief message to all Caymanians who are unemployed and looking for work. I'm very pleased to see that the DART organization will be hosting a hospitality jobs fair this coming Saturday, the 5th of March, at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I'm informed by the DART group that there will be a wide range of jobs on offer, covering a broad cross-section of the tourism industry, including finance, food and beverage, guest services, recreation, spa services, IT, and much more. I want to strongly encourage all Caymanians who are seeking work and is currently unemployed to come and attend. Please take the time to go along and find out what the opportunities are. Speak to the representatives of the hotel industry, and most importantly, put your applications in. That's this Saturday, the 5th of March, in the ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I am very grateful to the DART organization for stepping up to attract Caymanians to join the tourism industry, and I look forward to seeing you all there. And please, remember to share this video with everyone you know, particularly those who are unemployed. Let's get back to work, Cayman. See you this Saturday.
It's 2022, and CMR is taking talk to the next level. Are you tired of talk shows that offer no solutions for you? Talk, 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 talk. And more talk? Here at CMR, we believe in action. It's 2022, and CMR is taking talk to the next level. Are you tired of talk shows that offer no solutions for you? Talk, 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 talk. And more talk? Here at CMR, we believe in action. Tune into our new segment where we answer your questions about life, marriage, business, and so much more. Anything you want advice on, reach out to us for a special dose of the cold, hard truth. Having a hard time with a business? Sort 'em Out Sandy is here. Relationship woes? Sort 'em Out Sandy is here. Confused by the procedures to follow? Sort 'em Out Sandy is here. Submit your questions via email to tips@caymanmarlroad.com, on WhatsApp or on Messenger.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at caymanmarlroad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.